Good morning. Well, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for tuning into today's video. My name is Debbie Dash, and I'm very glad that you tuned in. Thank you for stopping by my little corner of the internet. So, what are we going to do today? Let's see. First and foremost, we're starting off with cupcakes. Now, I decided to make these cupcakes for my family just because I actually enjoy the process of baking. I love the process of baking, and when I was in my home country, I loved baking so much so that I had a baking business and an academy where I was teaching people how to bake and also baking for profit as a business. And we were a team. We had people that we actually collaborated with. We were fortunate to actually bake for even some notable figures, and all of it really made an incredible impact, not just for me, but in building a very sweet community. I love baking. I'm passionate about it. It's dear to my heart. And while I'm here now as, an immigrant in a foreign country, I'm very much aware that it might not be the best time to pick up baking again because I've got little kids and I just have so much on my plate right now. But it's definitely something I plan to pick up real soon. And so watch out for my little space, which is going to be a big space when I start baking again. But yeah, so enjoy this process of me baking. I'm making double chocolate chip muffins. And yeah, just enjoy. I got these muffin liners from Dollarama. I love the pastel colors, they're very cute. And one thing about baking is if it's going to come out good just from the consistency of your batter. Now I will say that this is actually a cake mix, so it's a cake box mix that I'm mixing currently. I tried to make it my own by, adding some substitute ingredients. So where it asked for oil, I melted butter because I like that rich, creamy, buttery taste. I prefer it to oil. And when it asked for 1 egg, I made it 2 thereabout just because I wanted it even fluffier, right? But I'm using a box cake mix and not baking from scratch, even though I would love to. but I don't necessarily have baking ingredients on hand, like, you know, flour, baking soda, and the rest, which I can easily get, but this was baking on the whim. And then I also don't have the equipment, so I need to get things like a cake mixer, you know, preferably get a hand mixer, you know, things like that. And when you want to bake professionally, sometimes you begin to get things like a turntable, you know, and the rest. You might even get like some temperature gauges and stuff. So there are some more things that I will definitely get in the future as I begin to take baking even seriously. But for now, this was just, you know, baking on the whim. And yeah, enjoy. So I'm just adding some chocolate chips to make it extra chocolatey, and into the oven she goes. We're going to have it ready real soon. It's going to be super exciting. Yeah, we're looking good. Oh, I love how they came out. They've cooled for a little bit, so it's not too hot. I'm able to touch it. Yeah, looks nice. Love it. I don't know, some people actually like hot cake. I only like it if I'm going to taste it to just see what it tastes like, but otherwise I actually prefer my cake fully cooled. But I know there are people who actually love it when cakes are hot. Like even when I used to bake, people would be like, can I get like a really super hot cake? And I always wondered, wow, like people have very different, you know, taste buds and preferences. Yeah, so I just did the toothpick test, came out clean. And yeah, that's my little kitchen helper helping himself. And after we've tasted as many as we want, we box up the rest after they're cooled and they go into the fridge. So this is what's left of the cake batter. I'm just going to cover it up with cling film and I'm going to put it in the fridge because this yummy cake batter, I will repurpose it tomorrow morning to make chocolate waffles, which is going to be super yummy. We're going to do some grocery shopping now. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but in one of my previous vlogs, I actually talked about how I break down my shopping. You'll most likely see me shopping in almost every vlog. In case you're wondering why in the world I'm shopping so much, it's really because I split my grocery budget for the month into a week's purchase. And so what I do is I'm typically buying something every week. But like I said before, if I have $1, instead of buying everything I want for the month for just that $1, what I do is I split it by 4 weeks. So I split $1 into 4, which is going to be 25 cents. And so I spent 25 cents per week. That way I noticed that I buy fresher ingredients. We typically clear out the fridge as a family, and it just really reduces waste because we eat whatever we buy that week and maybe a few things that are in the pantry. And so I get creative with my meals. I am not really wasting anything. And when I'm going to shop the next week, everything's going to be nice and fresh. So it's a big win. I'm excited about these beans that I bought because I'm going to make moi moi. Moi moi is like a bean pudding. It's a Nigerian meal. It's a bean pudding. You blend it and you make it into a paste and you steam it. So just adding some tuna, getting some milk. I got some onions. I got some eggplants that I'll use to make like a nice eggplant sauce with yam. I love this gravy, so I'm getting some of that. I love white pepper. It's great for jollof rice and some other meals. Going to get some meatballs. I got some shrimp. The shrimps were actually on sale, so it was a good deal. Bananas are always a staple in my house. I also got some mackerel because they're going to go really well with the eggplant sauce. As a family, we love yogurt, so I'm going to grab some yogurt as well. And then I love to get these frozen veggies because they've got carrots and broccoli. And yeah, I'm just really happy that I can make stir fries really quickly. I'm also going to get this particular yogurt because it has less sugar and sometimes we want a less sugary option. These are some berries. I picked it, but I think I dropped it later. And yeah, I'm just going to grab quite a bit of spinach. I can steam this, saute it, make like a quick vegetable with it, and yeah, heading home. This particular spray, I love to use it just to freshen up the house from time to time. It's 3 mixes of water, vinegar, and some essential oils. That's it. I spray it on the fabric, I spray it on curtains, and it just freshens up the house. And it's non-toxic, so I love it. Plus, it's super affordable too. Let's get started with our beans. Just going to wash it really good. And then I found a lazy way to peel beans. Now, typically when I was growing up, if you wanted to peel beans, you would soak it for about an hour or maybe 30 minutes, depending on how tough the skin is. And then you would peel it by hand. So you rub it together. But nobody got time for that. Now, you literally just put it in a blender. You add water and fill the blender to the brim. And then you just pulse it gently. And that force causes the skin to come off the beans, and then you keep rinsing until all the skin's off. Like, I can easily peel beans now in literally 10 minutes, and it's great for when I want to like rush and make a meal that has to do with peeled beans. So my little kitchen helper is helping me. And yeah, just added some ginger, some peppers, some onions, and a little bit of water to the bean paste. And now I'm going to blend. So now it's a paste. I put it in a pot. The pot is going to just serve as my base for mixing. We're adding oils. We're adding some seasoning. The seasoning is some seasoning cubes. I have some nutmeg, a little bit of nutmeg. I have some oil. I think I've got a few dashes of thyme, just a little bit, and maybe a little bit of dried pepper. I got these pouches. Shout out to my mom for getting them for me the last time she visited. And they're reusable, so perfect. And then the moi moi is going to go into those pouches. They're steam pouches. I also like to add some condiments to the moi moi. So I'll typically add some diced sausages, which I'm dicing now, and a few others that you'll see along the lines of the video. My diced sausages are ready, and now I'm just going to add some eggs and some tuna. So now that everything's into the pouches, I try not to make the pouches too full, but they're almost full. So you just have like some room, and they go into the pot and they steam. I add some water and I cover it up. You didn't see the cooking process, but it's ready. And I served it with some cereal. So that meal was yummy, in case you were wondering. And now I'm just going to refill my empty cereal jars and snack jars. And yeah, I think I'd like to just have a chit chat and share my thoughts about something I heard recently. So I was watching a creator who was sharing something with their audience. Now, this creator usually shares advice from a Christian standpoint, which is why I was interested in hearing what they had to say. However, there's something they said that I think very differently about, and yeah, I just thought to share it with you, and maybe it can get us all thinking back to what the Bible says and how we need to view these kind of topics. So the creator was talking about relationships, right, between a girl and a guy, and they definitely said something true, which is, you know, if you're dating somebody, you can't really tell where the relationship is going. That's a good sign to really take a step back and see what it is you guys are doing. That's true, that's fact. But then they went on to say, especially if you're dating a guy and this guy isn't even paying your rent. Now that stood out to me. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but that was basically what they implied. And they implied it, in a sarcastic tone. But I just felt like anyone who is watching might take feedback from that as a guy you're dating should be paying your rent. And I feel very strongly about that. In the opposite way. Because I think if you are dating somebody as a lady, there's really no reason why you should place a demand on a guy to pay your rent. Like, why? He's not your husband. Now, a husband, on the other hand, is expected to provide for his family, right? A man who will not provide for his household is worse than an infidel. Even the Bible says that. But we should not put that expectation on a boyfriend. Otherwise, we make things transactional. If you place a demand on him to give you money, then by the laws of transactions, then he is entitled to receive a return on his transaction and his investment. And if he is not really looking to get money, what is he looking for? And are you willing to give that up? Are you willing to give up your body? Because it doesn't even come close to being a worthy substitute. Like, anyone can make money. So even if he parts with money and the relationship doesn't work out, okay, yeah, he lost a couple $1,000 or whatever the currency is. But as women, like, sex is actually very, very emotional for us. And even more importantly, as a man, it's also emotional. But for us women, it's even very much deeper. But here's one thing that's common to both genders. It is spiritual. So there are soul ties happening when we have sex. So can you imagine, like, money has been exchanged for a soul tie? It's not a worthy replacement. It's not a worthy substitute. And it's not worth it at all. So that was, first of all, the main thing that I had a disagreement with. We do not place demands on men to commit to us financially. If we're living alone, it means we're adults and we should be responsible for ourselves. If we are not able to be responsible for ourselves, then we should seek help from the ones that love us and are committed to us, like family. That just, for me, is one of the main things. If you're dating someone and you need to ask for help, yeah, maybe you're in a very tight spot, but it should never be something you feel entitled to simply because they're dating you. That's my opinion. Then you make it transactional, and as women, we are worth so much more. Like, so much more. So much more. So there's nothing transactional here. We're not going to place ourselves in positions to be used as a transaction. And more importantly, I also think that when we make men feel like we need them to provide money, especially when they're still dating us, then we may also put a price tag on ourselves, right? And as trendy as that sounds, like being able to make yourself a high value woman to attract a high value man. I know it sounds trendy, but my huge problem with that is, if you place a price tag on yourself, you will find someone who can afford you. Yes, you'll disqualify those who can't, but you will find someone who can. And when you find someone who can, they afford you, they purchase you with money, and then the thrill is gone. They move on to the next conquest that they can purchase. As women, I strongly believe the Bible when it says, a wife of noble character, who can find? Her worth is far above rubies. What price can you pay for her? Like, honestly, God is saying to his daughters that we are so precious and valuable. So pretty. We are gifts to the men he allows marry us. Like, they cannot pay our worth. You cannot buy the value of a woman. And yes, I know cultures, of course, accept things like bride prices and the rest. But in God's sight, you cannot buy a woman. You cannot buy a wife. at the end of the day, you can't place a monetary value on her. She's priceless. And so because she's priceless, you must treat her as the gift that she is, with honor, with respect. So much so that God even says that if you offend your wife, your prayers are hindered. Like, God isn't even listening to you. That's how much value and worth he places on his daughters. So as women, we actually devalue and cheapen ourselves when we put ourselves in positions that cause us to appear transactional because we're placing monetary demands on boyfriends who God has not even mandated to provide for us. Husbands, yes, they have that responsibility, because as a husband, you should die for your wife. You literally should give your life for her, like Christ gave his life for the church. But for a boyfriend, no, you guys don't have that expectation. You don't have those demands. So I strongly believe, make it as easy as possible to have no strings attached, no financial strings attached, no sexual strings attached, no strings attached. Let the relationship be pure between brother and sister in Christ. And when you are now pronounced husband and wife, then you can act like husband and wife. Anyway, those are just my 2 cents, but I'd love to hear what you guys think. Always remember that we keep it kind, we keep it friendly on this channel. We are here to share our thoughts and our ideas. Nobody is meant to be bashing anyone, because I will be very quick to delete rude comments. We have to keep it polite, kind, and loving. And yeah, I'm very grateful that you stayed till the end. I love you, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye.